Hello! Today we're going to talk about grading, which is making a pattern bigger within CLO3D. So for my students, I have made up some worksheets based on the concepts of pattern grading, Chapter 5, grading the basic pattern blocks. So if you want more information about different types of grade, like a 1-inch grade or a 2-inch grade, you can read that chapter. Uh, we are focusing on the 1.5-inch grade, and I have made up and solved a series of worksheets for my students based on the 1.5-inch grade, which we can apply to sizes 10 through 12. Um, you really should just draft new patterns for larger sizes and then apply the larger grades because patterns can get distorted the more you grade them. So that's just something to keep in mind. But we just want to go over the basics of putting these numbers into CLO. So each of these points is labeled 1, 2, 3 up there. 2 is the whole dart. 4 is the underarm. 5 in the sleeve hole. 6 low point shoulder. 7 high point shoulder. And 8 is center front. So that's all of the points for the front bodice. I have gone over how I solved all of those in this old YouTube video from 2020, CAD 2 Week 11 lecture. So if you want to see how I did the math just for the bodice. And then for the back bodice, all of the first 8 rules are the same, and then it just has rule 9, which is applied to the shoulder dart. So I didn't fill those out. They're just the same as the previous section of the sloper. And there are several pages of rules for each section of the sloper. The origin point is something to note on each of these. It changes the direction it's growing. So these ones are growing up and to the left in terms of if they were getting bigger, they would be growing up and to the left. So I've drawn those arrows, which means that if it was getting bigger, it would be negative x and positive y. So those are probably the numbers we want to focus on. The bodice, the origin point of the bodice was at the center waist, so it's growing up and to the right actually. So that's positive x and positive y. And I kind of review some of that in the week 11 lecture there. So it's just something to note. The sleeve, the grain is in, or the origin point is in the center of the sleeve. So that one's kind of tricky. You got to make sure you're getting the negatives and positive rights on those. And then I'm not going to be inputting the pants today, but same thing there. You got to make sure you notice where the axes are. The only point that's below the axes on this is the crotch point, so that actually grows downwards where all of these grow out. Okay, we're going to move to CLO now. I have my bodice open. And in order to apply these numbers, we have to set up a grade. So I'm going to look in the upper right-hand corner, and this is the most updated version of CLO as of right now, and I'm on a PC. In the upper right-hand corner in the object browser, we're choosing the grading button, and then we are going to choose Add. And then in size group 1, we kind of want to set this up fully before we assign it to the group. So we are going to add 4 sizes, and we can label those sizes whatever whatever works, but this is a size 10. So I want to do 1 size smaller and 2 sizes larger. So I'm going to do 8, 10, 12, and 14. And then after we've named them, we can switch the base size to size 10. Maybe it has to be assigned before we can switch the base size. So we can select this garment. I've selected all the pieces with the transform pattern tool or the A tool, And then we are going to choose this assign button here, which kind of, it looks like a downward pointing arrow in a rectangle. It's not this assign one up here that's grayed out for me right now. It's the one that's right next to the size group. So we can assign it, and then we can see all of these grade points appear. And now can we switch the base size? Yes. Okay, so you really want the base size to be switched before you do any assigning of the numbers. So make sure you've got that sorted out. It doesn't seem to be possible to like switch the order of the sizes, so you have to label them beginning to end. All right. We are going to then rotate these pieces because our rules that we've written are for the pieces being sideways, which isn't how we set them up to be sewn in CLO. You want them to be straight up and down when you assign like arrangement points and things, but for our purposes, we can turn them sideways, and because I've already sewn this as well. And we will just focus on the front for the beginning, but we are going to then I will apply the rules to the rest of this, and I'll show you how to switch between sizes as well at the end of the lecture. But how do we assign the grade points in the first place? Number one, we are going to switch to the Edit Grading tool, and then we can click on these points. It may be helpful for you to delete any extra baselines. So you can unlock baselines in this little menu within the 2D pattern window, unlock baselines, and then you can just click them and delete them if you want. Just so there's a few less extra lines. So that's how you turn them on and off, and you can always lock them again. And then with this pattern design tool, now I can just click without having to select which point I'm clicking. Am I clicking the baseline point? Am I clicking the garment point? We can select a point, and then we can start applying the rules over here. So the rules I have solved for are offset rules, where it's going to apply the same rule if we type into the all section to the distance between all of these. Distance is for if you want to say how much does each move away from the center, I think. So it's not the same in each. It would be like you added it up, which I find more confusing, but it is an option in there. And I have read that some people find that less confusing. So, you know, to each their own. So you could solve for distance instead, but we've solved for offset. I've just solved one lower and one larger. We actually really only need the numbers that are larger. So rule 1 is 0, 0. That would be this point here. And I'm actually going to make this, we only need the 2D visible, and I'm going to make it so we can see this worksheet at the same time. Excellent, excellent. And the decimal points. So please bear with me. The rule 1 is just 0, 0, so that doesn't move at all, so we don't need to apply anything to that point. Rule 2 is 0 and 1/8. So none of these numbers should be negative that we type into the all section for the bodice. For other things, there may be negative numbers, as I discussed a little bit earlier. So into the all section here, for X, it's going to move 0. But for Y, it's going to move 1/8, which is 0.125. 0.125. Sorry, I moved my keyboard a little. My mic's in the way. 0.125, and we can hit enter, and then you can see that it applied 0.125 to the size distance between 8 and 10, and 10 and 12, and 12 and 14. So I think we can choose more than one point at the same time. So these actually also need to have rule 2 applied. So 0.125 in Y. And there we go. We can see that it has moved up for 2 sizes and down for 1 size. So that green line is size 8, and then the other 2 lines are size 12 and 14. So we just continue moving around. Rule 3 is 3/8, which is 0.375. And so we can just type that into the Y. Again, if there's nothing in the X for these first 2 rules, there's 0 in the X. And we can just continue moving all the way around. Now, I'm sorry for this slight idiosyncrasy, I guess, but I'm just going to apply rule 3 to this side dart 2. Really, we should have adjusted the bodice so that it only had a bottom dart, but this is just what I had, and I didn't think. So 0.375. And then for rule 4, this is our first one that has something in the X. So it's 1/8 in the X and 3/8 in the Y. So 0.125 and 0.375. So 0.125, enter, and 0.375, enter. And you can see that one is now starting to move up and to the right, where these points just moved directly up. So if we want to add a grade point here, we can. I think we just need to split the line, so I can switch to the Edit Pattern tool and right-click and choose Split, and OK, and then we can switch back to the grade point tool, and there is a grade point there. When it has automatically assigned a grade point, I do like to reset it to 0 for my own sanity and then just start fresh. So we are now at rule 5, so 1/8 and 3/16. So 0.125, enter, and 3/16 is 0.1875. Beautiful. 0.6 is a quarter, and 3/16 again. So 0.1875 in Y and 0.25 in X. 0.25. Beautiful. 0.7 is 5/16 and 1/16. So there in the X-axis, it's 5/16. 0.3125. And in the Y-axis, 1/16, or 0.0625. Beautiful. So that's really subtle, but that type of stuff does add up over the course of it. And we don't want to forget rule 8, which is the center front. And rule 8 has 0 in the Y column and 0.25 in the X column. So it doesn't move up or down. It only moves left or right. Okay. So there we have that whole garment graded. So you can kind of evaluate the grade and see, does it move evenly around? Does it kind of make sense? Remember, we can't just click and drag on something to make it bigger when we're grading clothing. You don't just want to scale it all in the same direction. So that's why grading is so specific, because humans don't grow just evenly bigger. It gets scaled up like you're holding shift in Photoshop. We generally grow outwards and a little bit longer in the body and wider. So it has to make sense for the clothing. I'm going to apply the grade to the rest of the worksheet, from the rest of the worksheet to the rest of the sloper. You can copy and paste some rules, but that was causing trouble when we got around to the sleeve, which had curve points in it. See all my curve points there. That doesn't seem to matter when you type numbers in, but it didn't like when we copied and pasted curve points. Because like ideally you would be able to select, so I chose Command C on this rule 2, and then we could paste it here. And it does work fine until you get to the armpits, and unless they've fixed that in the update. Oh, it works fine now. Okay, so that must have been an issue with the old system. So I'm glad I tested it here on an older version of CLO. That was giving us a lot of trouble in class last week. And we just need to type in new numbers for the only unique rule on the back bodice, which is rule 9. So with the edit pattern tool, we can select all 3 of these points at once, and we can type in rule 9, which is 0.25 and 1/8. I don't think you can, oh wow, you can just type the numbers in here. So at least in the update you can. So I just did 1/8 with a slash in between, and it did the math for me. So that's much better than having to reference that each time. So I'm going to go ahead and apply the skirt and the sleeve rules to the garment. These sleeves are actually upside down for the sleeve rules. They should be like that. And then I will return. So I have applied the grade to the whole garment. I did want to point out that if you have extra points that you don't want to be grade points, with the grade point tool, like right here, we can right click and choose convert to non-grade point, and then it just smooths the grade over that point. So I don't know why that one isn't working though. There we go. I don't know. That took a couple tries, but now the grade moves more evenly around the sleeve, and it doesn't like chop angle down to those points anymore. Those points didn't have rules in the grade rules. All right, so now we can switch between sizes if we like in the grading panel. We can switch between the base sizes. This is why it was so important that we chose the correct base size before we started applying the grade to this garment, because now this is how we switch between sizes. See, that went down to size 8. We could go up to size 10 and size 14. Let's do the 2D 3D panel, and we can instantly see how these different sizes look on this model. So let's hit simulate. So that's just size 10, and then we'll stop the simulation and size 12 and hit simulate. Yeah, it's just getting a bit bigger each time. Wonderful. So that is the whole process. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, talk to you later.